Yo, what is going on out there in YouTube land? What is happening, good people? You are now tuned in to another dope video here at No BS Allowed TV, the place where we discuss truth, life, love, and all dope things in between. I am your host, King P, aka Big Game James, aka Pastor Offering, aka The Ice Nine, aka the reason why you are here. Also known as that guy, but universally known as the World Heavyweight Champion, undisputed of common sense. All right. And if you are new to the channel, welcome. Please consider subscribing. You will enjoy yourself here. I promise you. So kick off your shoes, relax a while. All right. And for my returning subscribers, as always, salute. Now, that being said, you know how we do it. So let's get right into it. You see the title. And what I'm going to discuss is how this whole thing of winning isn't everything came to be, or as it's more commonly known as ring culture being toxic in the NBA, and that started back in 2010, 2011, when a certain player um, couldn't get past, couldn't get out of the Eastern Conference, uh, couldn't win the Eastern Conference, and the Eastern Conference at the time was the weakest that it had been in years, and so they couldn't lift their team to the NBA Finals, and you know which certain player I'm talking about. And so in 2010, when this certain player's team was again unsuccessful in reaching the NBA Finals in the off season, uh, that said player decided to team up with two other All Stars in Miami, and of course, we don't really have to dig deep into it, but it is part of the conversation. Um, when said player hooked up with these other two players, they were immediately successful. And they did end up going to the NBA Finals, only to lose in embarrassing fashion to a Dallas Mavericks team that didn't have as much firepower as the Miami team. Now, this said player played terribly. It was one of the more embarrassing NBA Finals performances for a superstar player, especially one that is being mentioned in the same breath as Kobe, Magic, Mike, and so on. But also because the media started going in on said player and saying that, okay, well, you were a coward for leaving your other team and teaming up with these guys. And now you get embarrassed by a team that isn't even half as good on paper as your super team. You're never going to win. You're never going to be mentioned amongst the greats. So that summer began the redemption campaign. And the sports narrative began to shift from being critical of said player to lots of adulation and things like that, lots of empathy, if you will. And eventually that season the Miami team did win the NBA championship, and they won the championship again the next season. Well, they were not successful in a three-peat. In fact, they were bounced out of the in fact in fact they They were embarrassed, gentlemen sweep, by a older Spurs team. Well, perceived to be older Spurs team. But that Spurs team had uh, a still formidable Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, had an up and coming Kawhi Leonard, who won the Finals MVP. Did a pretty decent job at guarding uh, yeah, the player from Cleveland. Um, and so after that, the player from Cleveland who went through all these machinations and maneuvering to build this quote unquote super team. And after promising to win not one, not two, not three, not four, y'all know what it was, only producing two titles out of that tenure. Um, this player went back to Cleveland, and again the media machine started making excuses, saying, well, there was nothing more that he could do in Miami. You know, the Miami Heat weren't getting him enough help because Dwayne Wade was, his knees. He was getting old. Chris Bosh wasn't the player that he used to be. Although that Chris Bosh never actually in Miami. He was never the guy that he was in Toronto because he had to acquiesce to the ball dominant style of the player from Cleveland, and basically he just became a spot up shooter. His game suffered the most out of anyone's. Dwayne Wade graciously took a back seat. So that's something different. Whereas Chris Bosh became the odd man out, and his game suffered. Although he won, although the Heat won, his game suffered. But that's a conversation for another video. But we're talking sorely about solely on about the media and how they started trying to flip the conversation, change the narrative from, okay, well, yeah, it's not about winning crazy amount of titles. It's about longevity and performing at a high level. See, this conversation started way back then, and once said player went back to Cleveland, again, all the tomfoolery that went into that, the multiple trades, the getting, the trading of the number one pick, which turned out to be Andrew Wiggins. Um, had to get rid of him. Had to build the team again, yet another super team. Um, in order to to be competitive. But see, it just didn't end with said player from Cleveland. Um, in OKC, another player um, decided that, hey, after going to the finals one year and losing to the Miami Heat team, and then being on the cusp of another NBA Finals, um, but he choked in the playoffs. He choked in that series. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Easy money sniper. Um, Great player, but not as competitive as one would like. He too had a hand in shifting the landscape from winning being the only thing to win however you can, and if you don't win as much, then that's all right. You'll still be amongst the goat. You'll still be included in the goat conversation anyway. When Easy Money Sniper decided that, okay, well, even though I had this Golden State team down 3-1 and I choked the series away, I'm going to go ahead and leave my very good Oklahoma City team and join this Golden State juggernaut. Now, this Golden State team had just lost in the NBA Finals to player from Cleveland Cavaliers. They blew a 3-1 lead. Uh, one of the biggest collapses in NBA history. However, they ended up, their consolation prize was they ended up getting Easy Money Sniper the next season, and they ran roughshod through the NBA, and for the next two seasons. And each time in the finals, they ran into the player from Ohio, his Cleveland team, and they thoroughly destroyed them. And each time the player from Ohio's Cleveland team lost, it was, oh, I need more help. I need more help. Then on the flip side, while the public was excoriating Easy Money Sniper for basically bandwagoning two championships and basically calling a spade, the media was pretty much, well, for the most part, the media was not as hard on Easy Money Sniper as they could have been. And but they still were giving the player from Ohio, they were giving him all types of passes. It was about all of these excuses. Kyrie was hurt one year. Kevin Love, wasn't himself. All these things, because by this time, the player from Ohio was getting a bit long in the tooth. I mean, he was still a dominant force, but he was getting he wasn't a young guy, and so therefore his handlers and his the crew over at Clutch Sports, if you will, they started again greasing the palms and getting with the decision makers and gatekeepers, and basically basically conspiring to change the narrative that, okay, well, yeah, my guy hasn't won as much, but he's still the GOAT because he beat a 73-9 team, and he won rings previously in his other stop. They already knew that said player from Ohio was not going to measure up in the ring category to Kobe, Mike. They already knew that. Even when he won the Open Gym Championship, aka the Bubble Championship in LA, they knew. So that's why the focus it shifted from championships to all-time leading scorer. Okay, well, this guy is now the all-time leading scorer. This is a testament to how much to how great he is, as opposed to that other guy and those other guys that you talk about. Yeah, he doesn't have the ring count, but he has this. He has all these triple doubles. He has all this, that, and the third. Again, a concerted effort to push to move the goalposts, because they knew that he wasn't going to compete in the area in which it counts, which is rings. And you hear the media pundits talking about, oh, well, basketball is a team game and all this, that, and the third. Yes, it is. However, the objective is to win. And nobody is saying that said player from Ohio didn't win. He just didn't win enough. He just didn't do the things that other players before him did. And it's not his birthright to win a championship every year, especially when his teams are not competitive or he's not good enough. and his teams are not competitive. Same thing with Easy Money Sniper. Easy Money Sniper is one of the greatest scorers in NBA history, one of the greatest players in NBA history. However, he hasn't sniffed an NBA Finals since he was in Golden State and they lost to Toronto. And he's moved multiple teams, multiple deals, this, that, and the third, all of that. And while I like watching him play, how he has handled himself as far as from a competitive standpoint has left a lot to be desired. See, these guys made it cool to have the laissez-faire attitude towards winning that's being permeated now, that's being pushed now, because these two guys that have been exalted as the GOAT, although one has proclaimed himself to be the GOAT. Um, that's wild, but whatever. Um, this attitude that winning should take second place to stats is some nonsense. And again, these are the things that have been created to shift the attention from what the real or from what the real ideal is. See, they couldn't do that. They couldn't do that to Mike once he retired. He had six of them, two three-peats. Couldn't do that to Kobe. Kobe had one three-peat, one back to back. Couldn't do that. Couldn't say, okay, those guys didn't win. Couldn't say those guys didn't dominate thoroughly. Now, what they did try to do with Kobe is they tried to minimize him because he played with Shaq, which is some BS. All great players played with great players. That's how you win. But when you are saying that you are the greatest player of them all, but yet and still you keep crying for more help. You've played with more All Stars. You've played with more Hall of Famers than anybody in NBA history. But yet and still, the narrative when you lose, and you lose often, is you need more help. And then when you lose, oh, well, it's not the only thing. Look at his stats. Oh, he had a triple double in the finals. It wasn't his fault. That is a crock of BS. It's a crock of BS. And this man is now hanging on because he has achieved the goal of becoming the league's all-time pro basketball's all-time leading scorer. Congratulations to him. Now he's hanging on because LA is not going to win. The LA Lakers are not going to sniff in the NBA championship as currently constructed. With him at the helm, that's not going to happen. Sorry to drop that bomb on you, Laker fans, but no. These are the twilight years. These are the twilight years, and it's about to be a wrap. So knowing that the Lakers are not competing for championships anytime soon, there's even more of an effort to focus on the stats as opposed to the actual facts, which is said player from Ohio who went to Miami, who went back to Ohio, who now plays in LA, did not do enough to be considered the GOAT. Hate it or love it, that's just what it is. Being an all-time great, hey, there's no shame in that. But the way that the media constantly runs with this BS narrative now that winning isn't it isn't as important as stats are is wrong. Nobody plays the game for a second place trophy. Nobody plays the game for an honorable mention. Nobody plays just to play. If you are not playing to win, then why the hell are you playing? Make all the excuses that you want to. At the end of the day, you either win or you lose. And that's it. And we, the public who knows better, understand that clearly. See, the reason why you have to tear down MJ because he represented excellence, cutthroat excellence, win at all costs. Seeing that the other guy doesn't measure up to that and is never going to measure up to that, they have to somehow make what Mike accomplished and how he did it seem to be a a inferior product, or not as important. And again, that's cap. So this is not taking anything away from anybody, but we just have to get the truth out there. We're going to continue to get the truth out there. It is sickening how the media has has conspired along with player from Ohio's handlers. They've all combined to basically just hijack the narrative, and it's crazy that a lot of people are drinking the Kool-Aid. You weren't calling this dude the GOAT in 2012. You weren't saying that he was, you weren't saying that he was the GOAT in 2013, 2013. Again, the man has impressive stats. Even Easy Money Sniper, he has impressive stats. It's been an impressive career. But when it comes down to it, did you win enough? And in Easy Money Sniper's case, no, he didn't win enough. And also, he didn't win on a team that he led. So that, eh. And then in the other player's case, okay, yeah, he led those teams, but he didn't necessarily, he wasn't, he wasn't the dominating factor. There's the yeah, but that could be attached because he didn't win on teams that were built from the ground up. It was okay, well, I got to have this player, I got to have that player, that type of thing. And I mean, it brought in a new way of doing business in the NBA, and for better or worse, that's just what it is. It's now team up basketball, but the results haven't been what they wanted. So it's what it is. But understand, you cannot diminish the winners. You cannot take away from from those who have done great things. And this includes the player from Ohio. He's done great things. However, he does not measure up where it counts. And his people know that, and even his fans know that. However, they're going to still try to sell you up on the fact that because he's built up a lot of stats, then that supersedes all the winning that the other greats that he's compared to have done. And we know that that's a lie. And with that said, I'm going to land my plane there. Um, I thank you all for stopping by, checking out another video of mine. Um, you could be doing a multitude of things, but you decided that you wanted to hang out with me for a minute. And I appreciate that. Before I get out of here, I would like to ask you to like, comment, share my video, and also subscribe. It's the least that you can do if you've made it this far. I really would appreciate that because I'm trying to grow this thing and I cannot do that without you. You are the most important component to this thing, all right? And with that being said, I leave you with this. Everybody is talking about something, but not everybody is worth listening to. Always remember that. And with that said, good people, two fingers equals peace.